getting from the airport to the hotel. Sometimes when I actually take the tube from the airport, I'm just like, where's my trophy? Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like I won.
I'll give you a trophy for that. Yeah, big time.
In previous years, at this point in the summer holiday season, you'd have likely been jetting off on a holiday booked many months before. But recent surveys suggest that 2026 holidaymakers are holding out for a bargain. Regardless of which school you fall into, our Irish Independent travel editor, Pól Ó Conghaile, has plenty of suggestions for how you can make the most of your holiday budget. Pól, you are very welcome to Money Talks. I think we should get right into blatant holiday rip-offs, because we were actually just chatting off mic about the many scams I've fallen into. But, you know, scams aside, which we'll get to, what to your mind is a blatant holiday rip-off as a seasoned traveller? Like, what do you ritually avoid?
Well, I'm going to start with the minibar. I mean, after being stung once by a minibar charge, I would say 30 years ago, I will now walk around 10 blocks in a thunderstorm to get a can of Coke or to get a bottle of water that doesn't cost a tenner.
Yes.
And everything about them is just designed to squeeze you for cash. They're a friction point. They're the tiny sizes. They make you feel bad when you're taking it out. The way there's little magnets underneath the items. There's this list of exorbitant charges beside it. I don't know why it still exists in hotels. Well, other than obviously to make money, but you find actually some hotels are making them free to set themselves aside and say, you know, we're not like this. But of course they'll bake it into their room rates then. But that's the example for me.
Yeah.
I will not take anything from the minibar.
Yeah, and you're a dad, so when did your kids get the memo here?
When you walk into the room and you go, you see this little fridge here that looks like a fun-sized item. Get your hands off that. And we'll go out and get some local sweets in the supermarket.
I know it looks dinky and delightful and very tempting, but don't go near it.
Absolutely. But that's it. The other thing, I remember it, and it's funny how you once bitten on these things. I went to a restaurant in Barcelona again when I was younger and a little bit greener, and I ordered the razor clams and sat up at the counter and just loved it and loved the service and tasted the local food. And then the bill came and I was like, I can't remember what it was. Like, it was maybe €20 for just a plate of razor clams. And I know that sounds reasonable today, but at the time that was literally my budget for eating out for 2 or 3 days. And I was so annoyed with myself. And the guy could see me kind of my face go down, and he was like, sorry, dude, you just have to read the menu and look at the prices. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I have to read the menu and look at the prices.
So nowadays, no mini bars. You check the prices well in advance.
I do. There's a famous restaurant in Mykonos, which Mykonos is a destination where people just kind of spend extravagantly. It's really blingy these days. It's not like the Greek Isle that it once was. But this restaurant has famous prices like €19 for a side of fries. Its lobster pasta is about €298 a kilo, priced by the kilo. So people sit down and go, I'll have a mojito and a chicken club sandwich, and then the bill is like €90, and its TripAdvisor reviews are down around 2. But it basically that's just operating on the exact same policy that people are in holiday mode. They don't look at what's written down in front of them. They order and then they get burnt.
Yes. I think another, not a scam, but another, classic trap is floaties, like pool floaties.
What do you mean?
I feel that when you get to your destination, there's always someone who's kind of cornered the market, like a good floaty shop, like the inflatables.
Oh, yeah. So something you bring into the pool or
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they're definitely, they're kind of 10x, on what they should be charging. And I feel that's an easy one. But then again, and that's the thing, like you have to buy them.
Yeah.
If you've got kids with you.
Yeah, good point. That's like the umbrella in the rain when you're caught out with the... Yeah, I get that. Actually, when you talk about baggage and travelling, one of the things I do a lot when I go overseas is buy the bigger, bulkier items in a supermarket there. So, if you need to buy a large thing of sunscreen for your family, rather than then have to pack it and carry it all over and add to your weight. I sometimes do that. And I quite enjoy going to supermarkets when I'm travelling and seeing, how the products are different and tasting them and doing a meal in instead of every meal out. Yeah. But, you're right. The floaty, although I'm not sure if I would bring it with me.
I couldn't bring it. No, the size of it, Paul. You have to. You
Depends
leave
what it
them.
was, maybe.
You leave them at the destination. That's the thing. And I mean, people might have something to say about that, but you trust that it's going to get passed on to the next child.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that goes. It's funny. I think about you every time I pack because I remember I read a piece you wrote ages ago, and it was like it's such a simple tip, but it's just so effective. Like you say, you always bring like a black sack along with you for your clothes that are going to like go into the laundry when you come back.
Yeah,
So handy.
I've upgraded to a white sack.
Oh, delicious, like a cotton drawstring.
I've gone premium now, or premium economy. Yeah, I do that, and I just used it last week. I'm delighted with myself. It's just to separate it out in there. But I did hear a parent actually recently told me they bring the black sack also to tape out when they get to a room that they don't have blackout blinds in for their kids to sleep.
Multifunctional.
Exactly. Yes. But the packing, I start with a list, and I've had the same dog-eared list for years, and then I might add one or two things on. And the best time to do your list is when you get back from your trip, because that's when you know, right, I really didn't wear that fifth pair of shoes, or the hotel actually did have a hair dryer, or whatever it may be. But, it's a tricky one when you're going on holidays, because bringing your stuff and buying your outfits and all that is part of the fun. And you don't want to become this Scrooge going off on holidays with one outfit, and one spare pair of underwear. That you want to have fun with it as well. But I would go on the baggage front, double check the sizes, weigh your bag and measure your bag. And
How do you weigh it? I know that sounds so obvious. Do you actually use like a weighing scales at home?
I do have a weighing scales at home. I've tried the one that you hold and hook it onto, and about 3 of them have broken, landed on my feet.
Yeah.
So I've gone back to the one you just stand on. And it's a little bit of a balancing act. I get that. But you can get in or around, leave room for a bit of shopping on the way home. And Ryanair and Aer Lingus both allow baggage pooling. So if you have to be on the same reservation. So you can't just show up with someone and say, can we pool our allowance? What that means is basically if I have a €10 bag and my wife has a 10 kilo and 30 kilo bag, that's a 40 kg allowance in total.
Yes.
And that's okay. So you can pool, so you can save money that way. The other thing is if you're going to shop in destination, you can always bring out a soft bag that you don't have to pay for and fill it and pay for it only one way on the way back.
Yes.
The bags to somewhere like the Canaries can be 50, 60 quid.
This is it.
Each way.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So, okay, so that's one additional spend. What about the airport itself? Are you the type of person who brings a packed lunch?
Oh, I'm the type of person that will think about the day. Okay, what time am I going to need to eat? What's the time zone in the destination? How do I need to start steering my food and my sleep towards that? I'm going to sound like an awful idiot here. But anyway, not the person who's enjoying their holidays like airport dad here. It's 12:05. Why has no one eaten lunch in, German time? So what I'll do is I'll try and eat before I leave home, and I'll bring one or two snack bars or things like that to tide me over, because I've eaten at the airport to try it out and see what the quality is like, and it's rarely ever worth what you pay. There's always a premium. There's this thing you're probably aware of, Katie, called the golden hour, when you're in the airport after security and before you go to your boarding gate, where you're basically wandering around captive and you're browsing and you're munching and you might buy this and you might eat that.
It's like a liminal space. It's not real. Time isn't real. Money isn't.
That's right. and you can take a view of it that's all part of the fun, and I like it, and that's fine. That's great. But if you're looking to save money, that's a good space to save it in. I bring my bottle. I fill it up at the hydration stations after
They're fantastic. I've never used them, but every time I walk by one, I'm like, why didn't I think about that?
Yeah, and actually in the airports now they have the cartons of water that are only €2. It's not so bad. I paid in Dubai airport. I think it was nearly over €7 for a 1 litre bottle of water in plastic. I couldn't get over it. You can't always avoid these things, but so that's what I try and minimise my spend just for obvious reasons. It's premium price zone.
Yeah.
The other thing about the airport, if you would book your parking in advance, or check out the Park to Travel lot, which is it's just outside of the campus, but they usually have a discount code on their Instagram, 15% off, or get a lift if you can, and then repay the favour the next time.
I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
for sure. And I'm not sure if the firm that you mentioned there is part of this, but some of the parking firms, they actually use dynamic pricing now.
Oh my God, dynamic pricing is at you cannot take a step of that. You have to be, you're almost like you have to be this dynamic consumer to avoid it, don't you? And to go around it. The airport lounges are dynamically priced. The airport parking is dynamically priced. Whether you pay €8 or €20 to choose your seat on the Ryanair flight is
Yeah.
dynamically priced based on the time of year and based on the route and so on. It's all like you versus the algorithms
Yes.
as you make your way. So sometimes you feel just kind of helpless about it. But the more you can do in advance, the better.
Yeah.
And obviously the premium is on the bank holidays and those busier times for travel.
Yeah. What about when you get to your destination? So, getting from the airport to the hotel. So, sometimes when I actually take the tube from the airport, I'm just like, where's my trophy? Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like I won,
I'll give you a trophy for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
But then there's places like where I've had experiences recently in Croatia where it's wild. It's like the Wild West when you
Yeah.
get out, and everyone's out just trying to do you, I feel. So I'm wondering, how do you kind of prepare for that if you're going to a place you've never been before?
You're right. And there's a huge spread. Some airports are very structured and there's only approved taxi vendors inside on the campus, and others it's just like you get out into a big scrum. So what I will do is do a little bit of research on the airport and the destination, and if this will depend whether you're with a family or whether it's you just yourself or you're with a group. I'll look at something like Citymap or app for public transport options. If there's a tube, great, that's easy. A bus, a little bit less so, but still doable. It'll depend where it drops you off in relation to where you're staying. And then with the taxi, I'll try and ask locally, like, what's my best bet here? I'll sometimes look to pool with someone else if that's a possibility. And then once you get in, it's like being in a taxi anywhere really. You'll check is the fare metered, or are they? Don't ever go in a taxi. And I'm sure your listeners know this without kind of agreeing the price or knowing the price or seeing that it's officially metered beforehand. So those are the kind of ways I'd be thinking of it. In the States, there's Uber and Lyft pickup zones at a lot of airports, just as there are at a lot of shopping malls,
Yes.
which is really handy if you have those apps too.
Yeah, I agree. Tell me, when you get to your destination, what about restaurants, cafes, and all the rest of it? Do you think there's a way to avoid not even tourist trap places, but
Yeah.
overpriced spots?
Well, some of it's the obvious thing. Like you go to the Temple Bar and you're going to pay top price for a pint or for your box tea or whatever dish you're going to have. So it's similar wherever you go. On the main tourist drag, the prices will be premium, and you'll sense it. You'll have a kind of a radar for that. So if you go with research a little bit further afield, if you ask people, like, I think a great thing to do in a destination is take a food tour. And then as you go, you ask the guide where to go, where to come back to, how to make the bookings, when are the best rates. I'll sometimes look at lunch instead of a dinner, especially if you're looking going to a fancy place. Often they'll have a lunch menu that's an awful lot cheaper than in the evening, so that's worth looking at. And then I'll look at the week and go, okay, maybe we're going to do our breakfasts in or whatever. Well, I'll find some way to not be eating out 3 times a day. So I'll kind of do a combination of all of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever stayed in an all-inclusive resort with your family?
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you find that for value?
There's no one. It's not like a generic mass of all-inclusive resorts. They're kind of like every hotel or every accommodation, in that there's lead-in ones that have the one buffet you're going to end up at all the time. It's got this horrible fluorescent lighting. There's tiny little plastic beakers for beer that's warm, and it's yuck.
Yes.
And then you've got Nutella on your salmon.
Oh, that's so spot on.
And you're going back to the same place every time. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have resorts that have like specialty steakhouses, specialty seafood, vegetarian restaurants, and they're all in on the all-inclusive rate, and they're at the high spending area. So, and you have everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
The joy of a good all-inclusive is that you control your costs and you know what you're spending up front. So that's from a family point of view. Other people just love going on holiday, going for a wander, eating seafood at the harbour, as you can hear the ocean outside, So it's all a little bit horses for courses, but don't just look where it says all inclusive and book it. I would go in, I would be in the weeds, I'd be looking at what are the restaurants, what do our family like to eat? Are we okay sitting in this same room every morning, every lunchtime, every evening?
Yes.
Do you want a bit of variation?
Yeah.
And I think it all depends where you want to spend your little bit of extra money and what you value.
It's what you value, because I think people who enjoy a bevy it can be great value. You know,
Yeah,
people, if that's a big part of their holiday spend,
yeah,
maybe that's a different conversation for the Real Health podcast. But you know, it does. I've seen it. Like it
sure.
definitely works, particularly in places where alcohol's expensive, like Ibiza. So I think, you know, all inclusive in that scenario,
Oh yeah, and
really
on
good shout.
also cruise ships. They're basically an all-inclusive model. You can get various drinks packages, and oftentimes you'll find in resorts that do, like say the four-star into things that do it well, they'll have a selection of beers and wines and some sort of generic spirits will be included, but then you will spend extra if you want to get a premium brand or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Tell me about the mood at the moment. So, you know, bookings are down, generally speaking. Why is that?
So bookings are late.
Mm.
People, Reiner had a report out just very recently. Speaking of consumer hesitancy, and when you think it through, it's fairly self-explanatory. The conflict in the Middle East, the kind of every time we sit down at the kitchen table, we seem to be talking about some price rise or another. The media coverage of potential fuel shortages, all of that led a lot more people than usual to sort of delay their bookings
Yeah.
this year. So people are thinking carefully about how they spend that holiday money. You might be able to tell me better in that. Is a holiday like your second biggest purchase of the year, or it's got to be up
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
So it's a lot. So people would be thinking maybe instead of if you doing two holidays, maybe we'll do one this year. And how will we do it? When will we do it? Is the heat a factor? We want to go somewhere where we're sure the flight's going to operate. A lot of people are avoiding flying through the Middle East for obvious reasons. So people are definitely more conscious of cost. You might find someone doing a 10-day trip instead of a 14-day trip.
Yes.
You might find, but they still, and I find this year after year, they still do treasure that kind of sense of having a holiday to look forward to.
Yes.
And you can, it's something if you plan it ahead, Katie, and you put down a deposit in January and you pay in installments, you can manage it that way. Now, we're a little bit late to that for this year's summer holiday. But if you're thinking of next, that's something to bear in mind.
Yeah. You mentioned off mic about wonky weekends.
Yeah.
What's the wonky weekend? It
So
sounds like every weekend in my 20s,
that's
but
basically, well, in travel, flexibility is like your superpower. So if you're not hemmed into going away on a weekend, going away in the school holidays, and you don't really mind where you go, you don't have to get back to that hotel in Lanzarote,
yes.
then the booking and the algorithms and all the rest of it kind of open up. You can go in there and you can choose based on what's cheapest rather than the destination. Ryanair has this excellent tool called Fare Finder, and you'll find it not on their app but on their website. You can go in and you can see what the flights are by price. So you can search on something for, say, €20 or under. Or €40 or under, or my budget is 100 or under. And then if you don't mind if you're going to Bilbao or Bordeaux or Barcelona, you can just choose by price. So a wonky weekend is basically someone who's saying, it's not Friday to Sunday, let's go Sunday to Wednesday. And it's like a weekend, and we'll take maybe a day or two off work, but what we lose in our annual leave, we'll gain in much cheaper rates and prices and so on. That's the kind of creative way people are thinking around the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know any particularly savvy spenders from a travel point of view who just have it nailed, who just always seem to get great value,
Yeah.
discounts and all the rest of it?
I do, and they are often just regular folk, mostly women, in my experience, sitting
Interesting.
at home booking on behalf of their families and their friends. Absolute geniuses at Airbnb, at using the system, at thinking ahead, at finding lovely properties. Great stuff like, why do we need a car hire for 2 weeks? Let's just book the car hire from the Thursday to the Sunday of this week. We'll load our activities here. They think about, we're going to go to the theme park. Let's book at the off-peak rate. Let's do that. They have it all lined up. Basically, what they're committing is sort of their time, their foresight, their prep work, and the love to do and interest to do this for their family and their friends.
Yes.
It's all just about thinking smartly about where are the peaks, where are most people going at most times, how do we get around that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a simple one, isn't it? Like just going on a holiday in September can often make such a big difference.
Huge difference. Particularly you push it a little bit later into September once
Yeah.
everyone's back at school. And September is a real sweet spot in travel for that reason. Now, obviously, people who have kids,
Yeah.
it may be different, but yeah, the more when we talk about shoulder season, we talk about May and June, September and October, as you're catching the beginning and end of the airline summer schedules. But the heat is still there, the seas are still warm, but the crowds are starting to dissipate. So if you're in the position where you can travel flexibly in those
Yeah.
times,
Yes.
that's golden.
Yeah. The other tip I love of yours, and again, I read it in a piece of yours years ago, and I do it now all the time, which is, you find the rate, the best possible rate on the booking platform, and then you contact the hotel directly.
Yeah.
That is delivered for me on so many occasions. But to the point now that, like, when I go back to the hotel then in year 3, it's like, now that you're one of our preferential customers, you actually get, like, it compounds.
Yeah.
Like, the discounts get better and better
Yeah, good point.
because you're in contact with them. You have this chain then,
And they want that. They
Yeah.
want the customer loyalty. They can leverage that in different ways. But yet to get to that point is a great tip for saving money. Booking.com, Expedia, Trivago, hotels.com, they're all great aggregators, and I use them a lot to search. So if I'm going to Berlin, I will open up the map of Berlin and see what's in my area and so on. But like you say, then I will get in touch with the hotel directly, because Booking.com, hotels.com will charge them a fee of anything from 15 to 20% or thereabouts for the booking. And so if you contact them directly, you can see that as a margin that they can play with. So you won't always get a direct reduction of that amount, but you might get 10%. You might get something like a glass of Prosecco when you arrive, or a room upgrade, or a breakfast, or something like that. So it's definitely worth trying that. Also, I would sign up for, if you're thinking of hotels, sometimes if you sign up for their newsletter, for their loyalty scheme, you'll get an automatic 10 or 15% off, and you can just discontinue, or you can sign out afterwards.
Yeah.
You can let them go. I wouldn't feel obliged in any way, to the loyalty schemes of that. But if you enjoy the stay, great. But you have to think around it like that.
They're solid, Paul. So let's wrap it up then. I don't want to put you on the spot, but anything else like that, because that has really served me. Is there anything else from the Pól Ó Conghaile School of savvy spending that you can share?
I would buy, if you rent car, certainly more than once or twice a year, look at a car hire excess insurance policy. This is an annual policy, 50, 60 quid. And so instead of coming off the plane with your big bug eyes and your jet lag and dealing with this upsell at the car rental desk, you just go, I have my excess insurance policy, and it's an annual rate, and it's there. So each time it covers you for the excess.
Okay, that's
So
a fantastic one.
have a look at that. There's loads of offers that loads of companies will do it. So it's just like having a one size fits all, so you don't have to worry about it. And the other thing, insurance wise, take out your insurance when you book your holiday or have an annual trip. The reason is it's a false economy to book it late before you go. It'll still cost the same money, but if I take out the insurance when I book the holiday, and then I get sick before I travel or have to cancel or change things, I'm covered. Whereas if I don't have the insurance, I'm not. And the other thing I'm covered for is things like wildfires, conflict. Like we've been talking about those a lot in recent weeks. But as if I take out my insurance now, they've already happened. So they're named events, and I'm not covered.
Yes.
So have the insurance from the minute you book the holiday.
Wild world we're living in when we really have to consider this as things to insure against, for sure. But Paul, they were brilliant tips. It was a delight to have you on. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.